Hi, for this video what I'm going to do is show you how to use synthetic division when you are dividing by a quadratic term. So synthetic division is really easy to do when you have a linear term, especially when your coefficient is 1. When you start using synthetic division with quadratic terms or cubic terms, the process becomes more complicated, and so you can always use long division if you like that process better. I do have a video that shows this exact same problem with long division, so if you would prefer to use the long division, you can always do that method. You can use synthetic division, but it does require a little bit of thinking and a little bit of planning. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to look at your divisor and make sure that your exponent terms go in descending order from largest to smallest. So I have 2, 1, and then 0 x's. So it does go down in order of exponents, so I don't have to have any zeros added into the divisor. I'm going to use the opposite sign because remember in long division you multiply then subtract. You multiply and then subtract. So if by using the opposite sign, we're modeling subtraction. So I'm going to take all of the values except for the leading coefficient. If the leading coefficient was not 1, I would have to divide all of these values in order to make it 1. So it complicates the process if the leading coefficient is not 1. So I'm going to just take these two numbers here and put them on the outside of my synthetic division with the opposite sign. So I would put +2 and -3 to simulate subtraction. Okay, I'm going to draw out my synthetic division box and I'm going to separate it into two sections. Since I'm multiplying by two different numbers, I do have to keep track of which one goes with the first coefficient and which one goes with the second one. Okay, then inside what I'm going to do is I need to make sure that this goes in descending order. So I want to make sure that it does go down. And so if you notice it goes x to the 4th and x squared, so I really have x to the 4th plus 0x cubed plus 3x squared plus 0x plus 1. So I do have to add my placeholders of zeros because it has to go in descending order. And then I'm just going to take all of my coefficients. Remember, if there's not a number in front, it's understood to be 1. So I would have 1, 0, 3, 0, 1. Now what I'm going to do is I always start by dropping down my first term. And the reason is I know that x squared, I would just have one of these in order to get the number in front. I would multiply by 1 to get that value. Okay, so then what I'm going to do after I've dropped down my first term, I'm going to multiply both of these numbers here, the 2 and the -3, by the 1. I also have to drop this 0 down for the first coefficient. So that's where my first coefficient is going to go, is underneath this line here. So I would do 2 times 1, which gives me 2. And I'm not going to do anything with that yet because I'm also have to do the -3 times 1, which would give me -3. Okay, so for this multiplication, I took 2 times 1 and put it in the second spot in my lower region. And then I'm going to do -3 times 1 and I'm going to put it in the upper region so that I can have my subtraction. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add down the column. So 0 plus 2 is going to give me 2, and that's my next multiplier. This is the next value that I'm going to multiply both of these numbers by. Okay, so I would also add these together. 3 plus -3 would give me 0, which is going to be my value that I'm going to add to my product of my first term. Okay, so now we're going to take and we're going to multiply 2 by 2. So 2 times 2, and my answer is going to go right here. So 2 times 2 would give me 4. And just like before when I multiplied the -3, it went all the way to the top. I'm going to do the same thing. So -3 times 2 would give me -6. Now I'm going to add my terms. So 0 plus 4 would give me 4. Which will be my next multiplier, and 0 plus -6 is going to give me -6. This is where my remainder is going to start because I'm going to start with, since degree 4 divided by degree 2 would give me a quadratic term, and then a linear, and then a constant, so my remainder is going to be anything that falls beyond that. Okay, so I'm now going to multiply this value 2 times 4 to give me 8 to get my first value in my remainder. And I'm going to multiply the negative 3 times 4, which is going to give me negative 12. Okay, so for this, I am going to go ahead and write my answer all the way down at the bottom this time because this is my remainder. So I would have 8 and negative 11, sorry, not 8. We have to add those together. Negative 6 plus 8 would give me 2, and 1 plus negative 12 would give me negative 11. So now our final step is to write our answer. Okay, so my answer would be, I would have 1x squared, because remember I started with degree 4, I'm dividing out 2 of them, so it makes sense that 2 times 2 on my exponents would give me 4. That's why I started there. And then we go descending order, so my next one would be 2x, and my next one would be my constant term. And then depending upon how you would set it up in, or how they asked for it, they might ask for just the remainder, but I'm going to set it up as a fraction. So my remainder is going to be 2x minus 11 over x squared minus 2x plus 3. Okay, so this would be my final answer. And if I multiplied this right here times this value right here, I would end up with the numerator. As always, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please let me know. If there are additional topics you would like me to cover, please let me know that as well.